Imagine this: a Roman emperor, surrounded by betrayal, war, and the constant shadow of death, sits alone at night, writing in his journal. He doesn't write about glory, riches, or revenge. Instead, he writes reminders to himself. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus Aurelius wasn't writing for history. He was writing to survive his own mind. Because the truth is brutal. Most people aren't destroyed by the world. They're destroyed by their own thoughts. The insults, the disappointments, the betrayals, these things don't break us. Our response to them does. And this is where Stoicism comes in. It's not a philosophy of comfort. It's a set of laws forged in fire, designed to make you unbreakable. Brutal truths that will tear down your illusions and rebuild your mind into something steel-like. If you want peace, resilience, and unstoppable mental strength, you must first confront these 8 brutal Stoic laws. Life has always been brutal. Wars, betrayals, losses, and the endless uncertainty of tomorrow. But what's different today is how fragile the modern mind has become. We break down over criticism, collapse when things don't go our way, and let the opinions of strangers dictate our peace. The Stoics knew better. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while battling plagues and political conspiracies. Seneca endured exile and betrayal from the very man he mentored. Epictetus lived his life as a slave before teaching emperors how to live with freedom. They understood that the mind is either your greatest ally or your deadliest enemy. Their philosophy wasn't about positive thinking or motivational cliches. It was about discipline, reality, and raw truth. Stoicism is a warrior's manual for the soul, not a soft blanket for comfort. These 8 brutal Stoic laws aren't meant to soothe you. They're meant to harden you. If you follow them, they will rewire your thinking and forge a mind that is calm, focused, and unbreakable. Law 1. No one owes you anything. The world doesn't owe you kindness. Your friends don't owe you loyalty. Life doesn't owe you comfort. The moment you expect these things, you hand over your peace to forces beyond your control. Epictetus, once a slave, understood this better than anyone. He said, "Don't hope that events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen. This is the path to peace." Imagine that. A man born into chains, beaten by his master, still refused to believe the world owed him fairness. Instead, he focused on what he could control: his attitude, his response, his inner strength. Contrast that with modern life. Someone cuts us off in traffic and we erupt. A friend doesn't reply to a message and we feel betrayed. These small disappointments crush us because we secretly believe we're entitled to a smooth ride. But the Stoics would laugh at this weakness. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily: expect to be betrayed, expect to be lied to, expect people to act against their nature. He wasn't pessimistic, he was realistic. By expecting nothing, he was never surprised, never shattered. When you let go of entitlement, you become free. Free from the prison of false expectations. Free from anger when others fall short. Free to focus on what truly matters. Your own actions, your own virtue. The first brutal law of Stoicism is this: you are owed nothing. Not love, not fairness, not comfort. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you stop being broken by disappointments. A mind that expects nothing cannot be shaken. A mind that demands nothing cannot be broken. That's where real strength begins. Law 2. Pain is your teacher, not your enemy. Most people spend their entire lives running from pain. They hide it under distractions, drown it in comfort, or try to escape it with quick fixes. But the Stoics saw pain differently. To them, pain wasn't something to avoid. It was the most powerful teacher the human spirit could encounter. Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men." In other words, pain is the forge, and you are the raw metal. Without the fire, you remain soft, unshaped, and fragile. Consider Epictetus, born a slave, beaten by his master, left crippled for life. His body never fully healed, but instead of cursing his fate, he treated pain as his classroom. Every strike, every hardship, every limitation sharpened his endurance. He couldn't control the chains on his body, but he could control the freedom of his mind. Now look at us today. A small setback, an exam failure, a broken relationship, a harsh comment online, and we collapse. We've been conditioned to believe life should be painless, when in reality, every struggle is a test of strength. Marcus Aurelius, writing during a plague that killed millions, told himself, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." To him, obstacles were not blockages, they were stepping stones. Pain wasn't a punishment, it was a path. The brutal law here is this: pain is not your enemy. It's your greatest instructor. Every hardship carries a lesson. Every loss carries wisdom. Every scar carries strength. If you run from pain, you stay weak. If you face it, you grow unbreakable. The Stoic doesn't curse pain, he listens to it. Because pain, more than comfort, is what forges the mind into steel. Law 3. Control the inner, release the outer. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain lashes down, the trees bend until they nearly snap. You have two choices: curse the storm for being uncontrollable, or protect your own footing and stand firm. That is the essence of Stoicism. Epictetus made this crystal clear. Some things are in our control and others not. If you confuse the two, you will suffer. Think about that. Most of your suffering comes not from events themselves, but from demanding control over what was never yours to command. You can't control the economy. You can't control your boss. You can't control whether people love you or betray you. But you can control your reactions, your discipline, your effort. That is your empire. Marcus Aurelius, who commanded the Roman army, reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Imagine that. The most powerful man in the world admitted he had no control over the world itself, only over his judgments. Contrast this with how we live today. We waste energy raging over traffic, politics, online comments, or other people's opinions. We allow external chaos to infect our inner world. This is why people feel powerless, because they're trying to master the wrong battlefield. The brutal Stoic law here is this: stop fighting what isn't yours to fight. Release the outer world, its randomness, its unfairness, its betrayals. You cannot hold it in your fist, but what you can seize, completely, fiercely, is your inner world. When you accept this truth, life becomes lighter. Insults don't sting, because they don't touch your character. Setbacks don't crush you, because you decide how to respond. Chaos doesn't overwhelm you, because your fortress is within. The man who controls himself is free, even in chains. The man who tries to control the world is a slave, even on a throne. True strength is this: master the inner, release the outer. Law 4. Your time is your only wealth. Wealth, power, possessions, all of it can be taken from you in a single night. History is full of kings who lost their crowns, generals who lost their armies, merchants who lost their fortunes. But there's one resource that slips away silently, one that even the most powerful emperor could never buy back: time. Seneca warned us in his essay on the shortness of life. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. He wasn't exaggerating. People don't die early. They just live carelessly. They treat time as if it were infinite, spending it on trivialities, and then panicking when the end comes too soon. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal every day, reminding himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This was not pessimism, it was urgency. Every moment could be his last, so he chose to live each one deliberately. Now think about modern life. Hours wasted scrolling through endless feeds. Days spent arguing over nothing. Years lost chasing approval, gossip, or shallow pleasures. And then people wonder why they feel empty. Because they've traded the most precious currency for nothing of value. The brutal Stoic law here is this: guard your time as fiercely as your life. Because that's exactly what it is. Your life measured out in minutes. Ask yourself, how would you live if you knew the clock was running out? Would you still procrastinate? Would you still waste hours on envy or regret? Or would you finally pour yourself into the things that matter? Your growth, your relationships, your purpose? The Stoics weren't afraid of death because they respected time. They squeezed meaning out of every day, every task, every breath. And they left behind not wasted years, but a legacy of how to live fully. You can earn more money. You can build more possessions. But once an hour is gone, it's gone forever. Protect your time. Spend it with purpose. Because your time is your only true wealth. And the day you realize that is the day you start living. Law 5. Expect betrayal, yet never break. One of the harshest truths the Stoics embraced is this. People will disappoint you. They will lie, cheat, betray, and abandon you. Not because the world is evil, but because human nature is flawed. To expect otherwise is to set yourself up for endless heartbreak. Marcus Aurelius prepared himself every morning with a ritual. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, today you will meet the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful, the envious, and the selfish." Notice his tone. He wasn't bitter. He wasn't angry. He was realistic. By expecting betrayal, he stripped it of its power to shock him. Contrast this with today. We build fantasies of perfect loyalty, perfect friendships, perfect relationships. And when reality intrudes, when people fail us, we crumble. We rage. We despair. We lose ourselves. The weakness lies not in the betrayal itself, but in our refusal to expect it. The Stoics taught a different response. Seneca wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." When wronged, don't rush to revenge or self-pity. Take a breath. Step back. Let time pass before you act. Why? Because betrayal only breaks you when you let it poison your mind. Think of Epictetus, a man who endured cruelty from his master, yet chose to rise above it. His body was chained, but his mind was free. Betrayal didn't define him, his response did. The brutal law is this: expect betrayal, but do not break. Accept that people are imperfect. Some will act selfishly, some dishonestly, some cruelly, but their actions are theirs. You control only your own. When you stop demanding perfection from others, you stop giving them the power to destroy you. Betrayal becomes weather, unpleasant, but not fatal. You endure it, adapt, and move forward. The unbreakable mind understands that trust may be broken, but character must remain intact. Others may take your trust, your wealth, even your body, but only you can give them your peace. So prepare yourself daily. Betrayal will come, and when it does, stand firm. For the Stoic, betrayal is not an ending. It's just another test of strength. Law 6. Discipline over desire. Desire is seductive. It whispers promises of happiness, comfort, pleasure, and recognition. But the Stoics warned that desire, left unchecked, is a chain around your neck. The more you want, the weaker you become. Epictetus said it bluntly. Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desires, but by eliminating them. To him, the man who cannot control his appetites is a slave, even if he sits on a throne. Look around today. Endless scrolling, impulsive shopping, constant craving for likes and validation. People aren't free. They are prisoners of their own desires. Each craving makes them restless. Each unfulfilled want breeds disappointment. The more they chase, the emptier they feel. The Stoics took the opposite approach. They practiced voluntary discomfort. Seneca would sleep on the ground, wear rough clothes, and eat meager meals, not because he couldn't afford better, but to remind himself that he didn't need better. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, so that it may be said, 'Is this what I feared?'" Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome with access to limitless luxuries, reminded himself daily, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. If an emperor could resist indulgence, what excuse do we have? The brutal Stoic law is this: choose discipline over desire. The more you strip away wants, the freer you become. Every time you resist an impulse, you strengthen your mind. Every time you say no to excess, you reclaim control. Discipline is not deprivation, it's liberation. It's the power to walk through life untouchable, needing nothing, enslaved to no craving, because the man who conquers the world, but not himself, remains a prisoner. But the man who conquers his desires, he is free everywhere. Law 7, you will die. Remember that. The harshest, most unavoidable truth, you will die. So will I. So will everyone you know. For most, this reality is terrifying. For the Stoics, it was liberating. They called it memento mori. Remember you must die. Not as a curse, but as a compass. By facing death daily, it sharpened life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Imagine that. The most powerful man in the world writing reminders that he was fragile, temporary, and mortal. Seneca, too, warned against wasting time. Let us prepare our minds as if we come to the very end of life. Postpone nothing. Balance life's books each day. To him, every sunrise was borrowed time, every sunset a debt repaid. But what do most of us do? We live as if life is endless. We postpone dreams. We delay forgiveness. We act as though tomorrow is guaranteed. And then, when death comes suddenly, as it always does, we are left with regret. The brutal Stoic law is this: death is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Remembering death doesn't make life darker, it makes it brighter. It strips away illusions. Suddenly, petty arguments don't matter. Possessions lose their shine. Procrastination feels like poison. When you truly accept death, you start to live deliberately. You love deeper, forgive quicker, act bolder. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter, because you know your time is running out. The unbreakable mind doesn't fear death, it uses it as fuel. Each breath becomes a gift, each choice an opportunity, each day a chance to live with urgency and meaning. You will die. Remember that, not to despair, but to awaken. Law 8. Character is the only legacy. At the end of life, all the titles, wealth, and applause you've gathered will vanish. Your body will return to dust. Your possessions will be scattered. Even your name may fade from memory. But one thing endures longer than monuments and riches: your character. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire stretching across continents, commanded armies, and held unimaginable power. Yet his true legacy isn't his throne. It's his private journal, where he wrote reminders about humility, virtue, and discipline. His character, not his crown, is what still speaks across 2,000 years. Epictetus owned nothing, born a slave, crippled for life. Yet his teachings shaped emperors and philosophers long after his death. Seneca's political power faded, his wealth was taken, but his letters still inspire millions. Why? Because character outlives circumstances. The Stoics knew external success is fragile. Fortune shifts like sand. Applause turns to silence. But your character, your integrity, your courage, your wisdom cannot be stolen. It is the only true monument you build every day. Today, society worships image, followers, status, possessions. But none of these matter when the final hour comes. What will remain is how you lived, how you treated others, and whether you stood firm in virtue when tested. Marcus wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's the brutal truth. Legacy isn't crafted by speeches or reputations. It's forged in daily choices, when no one is watching, when it costs you, when it tests your soul. The brutal Stoic law here is this: character is your only true legacy. Build it in silence, guard it fiercely, and let it define you. Because when death arrives, all that remains of you is the strength of your example. And that, unlike wealth, fame, or power, cannot be destroyed. You've now heard the 8 brutal Stoic laws. Truths that shattered illusions for emperors, exiles, and slaves alike. But remember this: wisdom means nothing if it stays in your head. Philosophy is not for reading, it's for living. Weak wait for life to get easier. The Stoic knows it never will. Strength is built in fire, discipline and restraint, and peace in surrendering what you can't control. So here's your challenge. Don't just watch this and move on. Pick one law, just one, and live it today. Guard your time. Face your pain. Cut off your dependence on desires. Whatever it is, practice it until it hardens into habit. Because the world doesn't need more people who understand resilience. It needs people who embody it. If you're ready to keep sharpening your mind with the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, subscribe now. This is your training ground. This is your forge. The question is, will you stay fragile, or will you become unbreakable?